everybody and welcome to another episode of Mad as a Goat, as usual with your cross-eyed host. Anyway, today I want to talk about old school remakes. And this is when they take like old school TV shows or movies and try to remake them. They always fail. They're never as good as the original. A good example would be Get Smart. If you haven't seen the TV show, it's good for its time. It's one of those timeless ones that you can always watch and get a little bit of a chuckle out of. It's not gagging you with hilarity, but it's still pretty good. It's a pretty good old TV show. So they decide, let's do a remake. Let's try and, revitalize the legendary show. And they make the fucking worst movie I've ever seen. I mean, Steve Carell isn't a bad actor. I mean, he's done a few movies which he was excellent in. I think he's actually quite a talented guy. But Get Smart, whoever produced it, wrote it, and directed it, completely fucked it. It didn't have the original charm of the television show. It didn't come across that he was as ditzy as the guy in the original TV show. They just ruined it. It wasn't funny, it wasn't entertaining, it relied 90% on CGI graphics. It fucking sucked. It really, really sucked. And another one that got completely just anal raped was Inspector Gadget. Now, whenever you put Matthew Broderick in a film, you better have someone who can back him up, alright? Go back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was okay in it, but what made it awesome was the character Cameron. That's what held that movie together. Matthew Broderick as a main character, being just the predominant main character of a film, is not going to work. Inspector Gadget remake is a fucking excellent example of this. He just shows some of the worst acting I've ever seen. It fucking sucks. Even as a child, I was screaming at my television show, like, just put the fucking cartoon back on. It was just shit. It was terrible. The story was piss poor. They had all this gimmicky shit, like the talking car that talked like some sort of South Central gangster. It was completely clumsy and relied too much on gimmicks and graphics. It sucked so much ass that the only thing that could possibly suck more ass than that is a vacuum. It was fucking horrendous. It was painful to watch. They did the same to the Addams Family. The remake of the movie they did from that was just shit. If you like Addams Family and you haven't seen the movie, I suggest don't watch it. It will make you fucking cry. It's just horrendous. It totally sucks. And what about that one, Pink Panther? Now, if you grew up with Cartoon Network, if you're from the 90s era, and had cable, you remember the Pink Panther as having a Pink Panther in it, didn't it? That was pretty much the whole thing, just a Pink Panther getting into all sorts of shenanigans. So when you hear about a remake of the Pink Panther, you're thinking, well, this is going to be interesting. How are they going to do it live action style? Quite simply, by basically removing the Pink Panther from it completely and just, like, Steve Martin was good in the 70s. The movie The Jerk with Steve Martin is really good. But let's face it, when it hit the 2000s, he just completely lost all integrity. I mean, Cheaper by the Dozen was the worst piece of crap I've ever seen. It was so cheesy that I went into cardiac arrest while fucking watching it. And Pink Panther was horrible. Fucking horrible. The jokes were so goddamn cheesy. They were horrible. It's just painful to watch. Seriously. And all the DC comic remakes of films, they've raped all of them. Batman, I don't even like any of them. I think they're all overdone and, trying too hard to be dramatic. Just really laying it on a little bit too thick. I'm one of those people who doesn't think that Heath Ledger's most greatest performance was in that Batman movie as the Joker. I personally think in the movie Candy he did a much better job as an actor. They really let him go and show his acting ability in that. But everyone loves this crappy Batman remake. Go watch the old school cartoon. That's how a story is made. Even though it's simplistic and made for children, it's still better than all these crappy remakes they've done. And Spider-Man, I don't even want to talk about. Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, fuck the hell off. Anyone who buys that is sick in the fucking head. I wasn't buying it for a second. It was horrendous. It wasn't Spider-Man. It was just another sappy love story. Oh, what about that scene where he's hanging upside down and she kisses him? It's Spider-Man! Spider-Man, for fuck's sake. It's not American Beauty. What the shit was that? My God, it pissed me off, and the action sequences were just... God damn, you can't just completely rely on graphics. It's why Avatar sucks. Jesus Christ. They ruined all the DC comics they tried to remake. They ruined all the classic cartoons like Yogi Bear. What the fuck? I know kids who got pissed off while watching that. What the hell is this shit? The old school cartoon from, I believe it may even be the 50s, is better than the 2000s remake. It was just lazy. And the Chipmunks, all of them sucked. Just horrible. I mean, when your selling point is them singing a popular song of the time, that's the selling point, you've completely missed the point of the Chipmunks. You've completely missed it. It sucked. The first movie they did and the second and everything they're going to do after it, it's going to suck balls. Because they forget one thing, that these were great shows because they were creative, interesting, they at least had a story that you could follow and you wouldn't get bored with. They didn't fucking knuckle down with all the romantic shit. And that's another thing. What's with these kids movies with long romantic scenes? I just happened to be watching Ben 10 the other day, and that had a sappy romantic scene in it. What the fuck is that? I don't know any 8-year-olds who want to watch a fucking romance show. No one wants to see it. Go back to the shooting and the aliens. We don't want to see that fucking garbage. Now look, if you want to make a romantic film with a heavily, romantic storyline, then go make a fucking romance film. Don't take Batman or Spider-Man or any sort of DC character or any of the old classics and try and inject a big shot of fucking Twilight into it. No one wants to see it. That's why you have people who like comics and people who like shitty movies like Twilight over here. They're separate categories. Why are you trying to merge them together to make the most amount of money? If you had any sort of sense in your head, you try to stay original to the themes and the style of the originals. And yes, I understand with cartoons, going from cartoon to live action, you have to make some changes. But don't just change it completely and make it completely boring and try to modernize Yogi Bear. No one wants to see Yogi Bear modernized. We just don't. We don't want to see that. If I see fucking Yogi Bear going, "What's so?" that would just annoy me. I'd be like, Jesus, these people make millions of dollars and I'm stuck here in a little room not making anything? I could make something better than this if I had their resources. And think about it. These companies who make these films like Paramount and Sony and all that, they have millions of dollars at their disposal and they still offer up shit. And it just pisses me the hell off. Look, I don't have a problem if you're on a low budget and you've got to make a bunch of drastic changes. I understand, because of your low budget and the possibilities of what you can do, this is understandable. But when you got millions of dollars in a fucking studio backing you to make a film, you better fucking make a great film. I want to see a fucking masterpiece. Or at least something that's watchable. Not something that goes all action, romantic scene, action, romantic scene. I watched the first Spider-Man remake movie thing they did the other day. It was on television. And I was counting the amount of romantic scenes in it. Guess what? The romantic scenes outweigh the action by 10 to 1. And that's not exaggerating. That's the scale. It's too dramatic. It's too much. Look, have a little bit of drama in there to hook in some other audiences. But don't just completely forget what the whole theme of what you're trying to remake is about and then just inject your Twilight wannabe shit in there. And I understand that movie came out before Twilight, but let's face it, Twilight has become synonymous with romantic bullshit. And that's another one. Romantic bullshit, Twilight, why is that making money? Because people are stupid. Don't think that people who like comics or people who like cartoons are stupid. They're usually a lot more intelligent than these fuckwits who just follow whatever's being thrown at them off their television set. It just shits me to motherfucking tears. Could you please research what you're going to remake. Research the audience that you're trying to hit for. And don't just go, "Oh, Spider-Man, let's market that to the tweens." No, fucking no. Fuck that shit. Little fucking cunts don't even know who Spider-Man was before the film. Why introduce it to them now? Tell them to fuck off and make something for the adults. I would have rather seen an R-rated Spider-Man where it was the cartoon but the realistic, consequences of his actions. Imagine that. He gets put someone in a web. I don't want to see some CGI overdone piece of crap where the guy gets free. In real life, that guy would suffocate and die, and I want to see that fucking reality. But no, because it's so much easier to put a good-looking girl in there and just have a stupid romantic storyline that's so sappy, it's so full of sap that even a tree couldn't handle it. It's fucking disgraceful. Anyway, that's all I got to say about shithouse remakes of classics. Anyway, that was Mad as a Goat. I hope you enjoyed it.